Continuing sight decline brings new challenges, as some things do slip out of range, and frustration is a regular visitor who enters without even ringing the doorbell. Determination, albeit rather shy and consequently hard to find, is a better friend. Determination is something Robert has never been short on. He didn't go to university, he was one of a family of 8, but went straight from school to Hibernian Insurance, now Aviva, in 1964. He worked his way up to the role of director with executive responsibility for the claims function, gaining professional qualifications along the way. He retired from Hibernian in 2002 and for 5 years was a business consultant, including acting chief executive of Motor Insurers Bureau of Ireland for a time and volunteer business manager with Scripture Union. These roles ended when he lost his sight in 2007. He continues to serve in St James Church as a member of Vestry and Finance Subcommittee, a role he has undertaken for decades. Software. After losing his sight, Robert set about learning new ways to do the things he had always done. Specialist software on his laptop means he can still work in Word, email, and even read and write spreadsheets. I get around the keyboard with reasonable accuracy and speed, and the software reads everything back to me, so I know that it is all correct, he explained. This determination to carry on as before meant Robert was key in the redevelopment project in Crencan. We started the upgrade program around 5 years ago, and I was the lead person in terms of negotiation with architects, planners, etc. We took out the pews and put in underfloor heating and many other improvements. Apart from directing subcontractors, I did a fair amount of the work. I had special tools like a talking tape measure. We then got planning permission for a major development beside the church, and I managed the building contract. As one of the design team, I committed the plans and other details to memory and did a certain amount of work myself, including plumbing and carpentry. I have developed various tricks to allow me to do the job. I was the person in charge of the overall vision, and you don't have to be able to see to carry a vision in your head. Robert found that contractors and others responded to him well. It is a question of building confidence and credibility. People would initially underestimate my capability as a blind person, but I can quickly reassure them by having a professional discussion with them. One of my apprehensions when it came to costs was the level of trust the vestry placed in me. The second phase was done by a building contractor, and the other 2 by direct labour and subcontract. All 3 phases of the project were costed at around €1 million, and doing it by this method saved in the region of €300,000. Robert was accompanied at the dedication of the new hall by his guide dog, Rona, a golden Labrador. The 2 have been together just 6 months. My sight is continually deteriorating, so getting the dog was a big adjustment for me, especially psychologically, he said. When you move around in society with a dog, everyone comes up to talk about the dog. Robert has been using a mobility cane for many years, but even with Rona, he still runs into problems when out and about. My biggest issue in public is overhanging bushes and vegetation, he said. Cars parked on the footpath and bollards are no problem because the mobility cane, and now the dog, will see these, but the vegetation hitting me in the face is an issue. I normally carry secateurs during the summer months to cut back vegetation I come across when out walking. Salvation. Robert said he discovered the Christian faith at the age of 18. I discovered salvation and a relationship with Jesus Christ, and that has stayed with me ever since, he said. We all suffer. Everybody has a cross to bear. There are times when I have lamented about losing my sight, but it is not a complaint about God. Robert has always loved hill walking and did his first high-altitude climb, Mont Blanc in the French Alps, when he was 50. 8 years ago, when his eyesight was significantly poor, he tackled Mount Toubkal in Morocco, which, at 4,300 meters, is the highest point of the Atlas Range. This was a sponsored challenge to raise funds for the Scripture Union to help the cost of refitting their Christian Adventure Centre in Wicklow. I couldn't see where I was putting my feet, but with walking poles you have 4 feet instead of 2, and if you stumble on one, you have 3 others to hold you up, Robert said. I also do a lot of walking locally at Bray Head, and have done that walk on my own. I just keep myself on the path, using the poles. Robert documents his Atlas adventure in his book. The first half of the book is a series of ways sighted people can support someone with a visual impairment. The second half relates Robert's own experiences living with this disability. He is an active advocate for disabled rights. The new Crinken Hall was dedicated by the Archbishop of Dublin, the Most Reverend Michael Jackson. We are an evangelical church that wants to link into the community whatever way we can, Robert said. We are pleased with the end result, especially in that it facilitates our community connections and helps us make church life more relevant in the modern world. I thank the Lord for the privilege of being part of this vision. Every day I went on site, I prayed for 3 things: wisdom in decision-making, safety for everyone on site, and good relationships with everybody involved, and all were answered. As a thank you to Robert for his work and dedication to the project, the parish is gifting him a trip to the Camino de Santiago with a friend. Getting there should not be a problem for a man who regularly commutes to London on his own. Part 3. It's a dog's life. Life has moved on with worsening sight, and that is my cue to introduce Rona, my guide dog, but I'll let her speak for herself. Yes, my name is Rona, and I am a Golden Labrador, born in Tralee, County Kerry, on the 10th of May 2017. My 8 siblings and I were bred with great expectations of taking up careers as guide dogs. After my first weeks in Kerry, my cosy family life came to an abrupt end when I moved to live in Skerries, County Dublin, where I became the 5th member of a happy family. However, enjoyable as this was, I was there to learn. It was like primary school for us puppies who aspire to the noble position of guide dog. In addition to the things all puppies need to learn, I underwent some basic preparation for my future career. The only thing I missed was having my doggy pals around me. But all good things come to an end, and when I was about a year old, I had to say goodbye to this happy little home. I had graduated to guide dog secondary school with Irish guide dogs in Cork, where I made many new doggy friends. I came under the tutelage of a guide dog trainer who remembers me as a very friendly but excitable dog who should settle with maturity. Here my training became more intense, with daily lessons on how to lead a human safely around. Things like keeping to the footpath, avoiding obstacles, curbs, junctions, spatial awareness for myself and a human alongside me, and lots more. A year passed until I was informed I was about to graduate from school to the University of Life with a new master. Who was it to be? Then came a day of introduction, like a blind date. It was as though a dating agency had looked at our profiles and thought this looked like a match. I wasn't at all apprehensive, as it was happening on my patch in Cork, where everything was familiar. After all, I had the security of my teacher and my doggy friends around me. Then this man appeared who seemed a normal sort of guy. We were introduced, and after a series of sniffs and kind words, a little walk together seemed a natural next step. With my harness donned, the lead was handed over to him, and, with some instruction, we were on our way. This new hand was fairly firm, but clearly hadn't a clue on where or how we should proceed, so I took the initiative. Would I play up a little, or be on my best behaviour? The thought of playing up felt attractive, but I knew teacher, who was following behind, would never forgive me, and so, on my best behaviour, we took one of my usual routes, with no bumps or other mishaps.